All right, we're here with Bowie Beezor. Hi guys, you're doing really good. Sorry for the noise in the background. I was just refilling their water. We just got back from a walk and they behaved really well. So I want to reinforce that good behavior, and I want to reward them for displaying the kind of behavior that I want. They're both very well-behaved dogs anyway. You can tell, look, very relaxed body language. You know, Bowie's very friendly. Beezor thinks that he's a Chihuahua and wants to lay on your lap. So friendly would be an understatement. They're just very affectionate, very well cared for, and very well behaved dogs. But you know, all dogs, no dogs are perfect, and we can always do some refinement, and we can reinforce that good behavior. So this is a good time for treat time. So, you know, I've been working with these guys in loving leadership. And so with that, you know, I need them to be submissive and comply to my orders, to my commands. And there we go, right there. So this is what I look for with these two. Before I reward them, I want them relaxed. I want them sitting in a submissive position. Look at that, they both laid down. Good, good. And honestly, I would have been okay with them both sitting, but who's a good boy? Good boy, Bowie. Good boy, Beezor. Good boy. Good boy. So, you know, give them a combination of verbal praise, affection, and a treat. Okay? Good boy. Good boy. And so what I'll do with them, you know, throughout the day, because we can get really accustomed to dogs that behave well, to just being used to them behaving well. And then a lot of times we'll encounter bad behavior because they're essentially trying to get attention from us because we're not paying attention to them when they're being good. So when they're being good and they're giving me the kind of behavior I want, I typically, I like to, you know, continue throughout the day to just give them praise and affection. And of course we do that anyway, but more with the goal in mind of I want to reinforce their good behavior. This isn't just me being affectionate and the everyday, you know, part of my being affectionate with dogs. So, you know, I'll go through the house and, you know, I'll see Beezor and he's being chill and relaxed. Good boy. Good boy, Beezor. I love what you're giving to me, baby. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love that good behavior. That's good stuff. Thank you, buddy. I love you. Yup. Bowie. Yes, you're being so good, buddy. Being a good boy. I love it. I love it. Thank you. That's right. That's a really good behavior, boys. I love it. I love it. And so, you know, it may not seem like much, but to the dog and the dog psychology, it's huge. You know, just that simple letting them know, hey, you know, I like what you're giving me. You know, I like this behavior you're showing me. And that's going to make it a lot easier for me anytime that I'm going to take them outside of those doors. Like anytime we're going to leave this place, it's very important for me as their caregiver and the person who's, you know, they're in my custody. When they're in my custody, it's very important for me that they are safe, that they are 100% safe. And the one way I know how to do that is to have them obey me, to be obedient. And so there's certain things that I implement when I'm with my dogs, when I'm with dog clients that I do kind of like right off the bat. So I kind of do like this just baseline behavior stuff, let them know where my boundaries are, what I will allow, what I won't allow. There's no punishment, there's no hitting or yelling or anything like that. You know, there is some negative sounds that I use, like, you know, one of those things I learned from Caesar, but it hits the dog's eardrum in a way where it gets their attention. And that's what I want when I'm making that noise, like, because I want to get their attention from whatever it is I don't want on and back onto me. So I start rewarding them for responding to that command, and I give them praise, affection, or a treat, or a combination thereof when I'm teaching dogs new things. So once I set in a certain baseline amount of commands with them, and it usually takes me anywhere from 15 minutes to a few hours, depending on the dog and the dog breeds. And there's so many different factors, you know, how they normally behave with their owners, if they're rescues, what they were previously like before they were rescued. So there's all kinds of different factors here, but Essentially, it just takes me a little bit of time, and I set these baseline rules down with them so that from there we can go and start really working on loose leash walking, threshold manners. With dogs that I'm doing overnights with, if they have a food routine, I don't break that. If we're getting into obedience training, I know how to incorporate feeding times in like a structured way that will be more of a bonding experience between me and the dog, and you and your dog, and it also reinforces and creates another level of obedience. So with this, so that the structured feeding, and then I set rules, limitations, and boundaries, and part of that is I set my boundaries. I have a certain kind of halo around me, or you're not going to jump on me. You're not going to enter that space unless I invite you in. If you're in that space and I don't want you there and I ask you to leave, you're going to leave. And so we start working on these things, and the obedience level strengthens throughout this process. And through doing these exercises over and over repetitiously, I end up with a dog that is, when I'm finished anyway, I end up with a dog that is very happy, psychologically feeling very secure and comfortable with being a dog. And believe it or not, most dogs, they're kind of a little bit lost for leadership, so they're kind of lost mentally, and that's where you get this weird behavior. So I can't say that about every dog. Some dogs need to be taught, and and another component of this is having that perfect recall. And recall is so crucial with everything else that I do. So when I'm doing perfect recall, it's basically again, just like anything else, repetition, consistency, and then reward them for giving me the good behavior. I don't have to rub their nose in it. I don't have to yell at them. I don't have to hit them for not giving me the kind of behavior I want. Instead, I am encouraging them to behave the way I want and rewarding them for that. And so they're going to respond better and more positively to the reward, to the love, affection, praise, treats. And some dogs are just not treat centric. They don't care about food. They're just like, I already have my breakfast. You can throw all the treats at me you want to. I'm just going to do my thing. So, learning how to train dogs without treats is very crucial. And so, it's really easy if you have a dog who's highly food motivated, to train, with treats reward, because they know they're going to get food. But then as soon as the treat is not there and you're giving them the command, a lot of times the dog will just ignore you. Like, well, you don't have a treat for me, so why am I going to follow your command? So it's very crucial to be able to train a dog without treats. And, it doesn't mean you don't ever use treats, because it's a great high-end reward. It's a great tool to use for obedience. I just personally don't believe in just randomly giving dogs treats just to be like, oh, I love you, here's a treat. Because if I really love you, I'm gonna teach you something, right? I'm gonna help you become a better dog, and I'm gonna be a better dog owner, and not just throw you a treat because you want to have a quick snack, right? Not against it. Give your dog treats, but maybe have them sit, have them lay down. Invite them onto the couch when they, and give them permission to greet you, or whatever the case is, and then reward them for that good behavior. And then you're going to get two things out of that instead of just nothing, throwing a dog a treat and they're going to expect it. You're going to get a more obedient dog, and you're going to have a happier dog, and you're going to have a better bonding experience. And the more of that we get to do with our dogs, the more that they're obedient with us, the more that we show them loving leadership, the more that we step up as dog owners and dog canine care professionals and dog trainers and people in our industry, the better it is for our dogs. The more we improve, the more we learn about our canines, what they really need, because so many of us assume that we know what the dog needs and we know how to properly care for them. And I'm just as guilty of it as anything else. I used a lot of antiquated canine care techniques that I no longer use today. I've learned from many different resources on how to properly care for canines, and I'm not perfect at it, but I definitely do a better job than I used to, just as a result of gaining some knowledge. And so, you know, that's always advice that I give to anyone who's having like training issues with their dogs, or I'm sorry, behavioral issues with their dogs, and they're calling me about training things, and they want to know about, you know, how does this work and how does that work and how are we going to accomplish this? And you know, a lot of times I say, well, you know, let's start with getting some knowledge, right? Because I can share my knowledge all I want to, and I'm just one person sharing knowledge. There's a ton of information out there. So we know so much more about canines, especially in the last couple of decades, than we probably ever did throughout our history with canines. And you know, some of this old, I call it, you know, 1900s antiquated canine care, excuse me. But that's basically what it is. You know, we're still using a lot of these old techniques that just are not healthy. They're not effective, and they're just outdated and need to be upgraded to proper care. And you know, that's one of the things that I strive for. You know, how can I learn how to better care for the canines that are in my custody or that are in my life, whether it is just for a brief service, overnight, a training session, whatever the case may be. I always want to learn more and more about how I can be a better caregiver to my canines, and I encourage that with everybody. I don't want to be all lectury, but come on, if we love our dogs, let's learn about them and let's learn how to properly care for them, and stop using some of these old techniques that may actually be the cause for their bad behavior. You know, that's been the case a lot, where it's just like, oh, you're just using an old technique, no big deal, let's try this technique instead. And I know it may not make sense to you right away, but let's give it a try and then see if that brings about the desired results. And 9 times out of 10 it does. I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect system. I'm not gonna say every single time I do this, blah, 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 but the system I have in place with the multiple techniques, the multiple methods that I put together all accumulate in this very well-behaved, obedient dog. And when they give me the kind of behavior I don't want, I'm able to correct them right away. So say, well, if I didn't want Beezor over here by that, now he leaves, over there by that door. Oh, here's a good one. He's barking and I don't want him to bark. Sit. I'll let him scratch. Sit. Beezor. Sit. Good boy, good boy, good boy. Well, he stood up without a break command, but I was already rewarding him for the sit. So normally what I would do is I would reinforce the good behavior. I would reward the good behavior like I did. And then I would give him a break command out of that. But once they start petting him and getting all, he gets excited, he's going to stand up and he's going to, you know, basically break out of the command. And that was kind of my fault. So I totally rabbit trail all the time, but I'm just trying to get like little examples of you know, how to correct little bad behavior. So now he's doing that to me again. Hey, good boy. Now what I do know about them, and we're not close to dinner time, and they've had a healthy breakfast, and they've both pooped, and they've both been outside, they both walked. Oops. So, but sometimes he'll bark to communicate that he needs to go out or that he wants food or something like that. But I think he's just being vocal and active because I'm walking around talking, and he's probably just stimulated. Who knows, right? Anyway, I just wanted to share that moment with you and just kind of go over a few things and, you know, what I do in the canine industry. So thank you for letting me serve you and help you. I really appreciate it. I'm Tony with A2 Dog Spot. Find me at a2dogspot.com or Treetown Tony on YouTube. All right, guys, take care.